training that we do every Saturday morning. We're happy to have you here, and we're just now going to get started with mastering the presentation. And a great training that's going to share with you just some thoughts about how to become better at presenting the DynaMAXX opportunity. And a lot of you might not look at yourself as a presenter, but sharing is presenting. So maybe it's mastering sharing, or maybe it's mastering talking, or there may be a lot of ways that you need to look at it that isn't as a presentation. But I can tell you that every one of you are going to face this in the future. And this goes back to Dale Carnegie, it goes back to Toastmasters, it goes back to a lot of the things that I've been a part of in my life that have helped me understand that there is a way to be absolutely comfortable when you're presenting. And when you hear somebody who's comfortable, you think you're hearing a great presenter, you think you're hearing a great presentation, you think you're hearing great this and great that and great guy or great gal, and in reality, it's mostly just certain steps have been taken so that what you hear is relaxing, empowering, and motivating to you. And anyone can do it. I mean, y'all know that Jim Anderson is great at this. I'm pretty good at this. A lot of our leaders in the company that you're going to meet or that you've met, whether they're our national directors or higher, some of our regionals, some of our districts. I mean, there's a lot of great presenters in the company. And I've noticed in the last couple of months, which is as long as I've been around, some of you are doing a lot of presentations and getting better at it. You're going to love this training because it's going to help you bring your thoughts together and actually get better. And maybe you've been practicing some errors or practicing mistakes, because as we all know, practice doesn't make perfect. Practicing proper technique makes perfect. Practicing bad things, of course, would not make perfect. So the ability to present really does represent great wealth in our business. Those people who are good presenters have access to a higher level of income than those who rely on others to do their presenting for them. Now understand, when we bring you into this company, I say in front of the room, and a lot of us say in front of the room, you don't have to ever present. And that's a true statement. You can build a business in DynaMAXX and never become a presenter. So if I've already frightened you, it's all right. Calm down. Watch this just for entertainment value. Maybe pick up a note or two, because it's going to help you in everything you do, whether you're presenting to a group of friends and family, talking at a PTA meeting, talking at church, teaching a Sunday school class, whatever it is. These principles may apply to you. But it does offer you an opportunity to make more money if you're a good presenter. As always, in almost everything I do, I talk about having fun and what you are showing on your face. And if you're not looking like you're having fun, then people that are listening to you or seeing you, it's hard for them also to have fun. So if you're not having fun, nobody else is either. And that's something that you need to think about as you master your presentation. How do you look from the audience? Do you look just scared to death? And if you're scared to death, then how can we fix that? What can we do? There's 3 keys to success in presentations: preparation, repetition, and discipline. We're going to start with preparation and talk about the value of preparation in mastering your presentation. We're going to talk about being preparing you. We're going to talk about preparing your presentation, being prepared them, whoever you're going to be presenting to. How do you prepare them, and how do you prepare the room? This preparation in all 4 of these areas are critical, because if there's not preparation, there's going to be fear. We talked about that, overcoming the fear of objection, overcoming fear. If you're prepared, you won't fear. And if you're unprepared and there is fear, it's very hard to do a good job. So let's prepare you, your presentation, the audience, and your room. To prepare you, we're talking mentally and physically. You've got to be up at game time. when I was performing professionally on stage, it was like no matter how your day was going, at 6 o'clock you had makeup call, and it was over. Your day was over. Those people paid $50 or $100 a ticket to come to your show, and every single one of them was seeing you for the first time. And every one of them deserved your best presentation. I have taken that into my life every case. I've got somebody on the back line with me. If you'll hit *6, that'll mute you, and we won't hear you in the future. Just *6 if you're on the back line, or anybody if you think we might be hearing you. So at 6 o'clock, you're there for makeup, and it's game time. There's absolutely no room for you to bring your personal issues with you. You've got to be prepared mentally and physically. There is physical requirement in creating a presentation and presenting at a home meeting in DynaMAXX. There's a physical requirement. I guarantee you, if you're wearing bad shoes, and I'll tell you, that's one that presenters know. If you're not comfortable in your shoes, you're going to have a hard time giving your best presentation. If you think that your shirt is showing some midriff and you're not comfortable with that, or maybe it's too low cut in front and you're not comfortable with that, or it's too tight and you're not comfortable with that, I don't care how hot you look, your presentation isn't going to go very well because you're going to be more worried about keeping your shirt pulled down or your pants pulled up than you will be on focusing on your presentation. You've got to be comfortable in your clothes, in your shoes, in your hairdo, in your glasses or no glasses. You've got to think about these things because a distraction will cut into the value of your presentation. Mentally, you've got to shut everything out that you're not bringing with you from the day. If you've got issues with right, okay, we've still got someone on the back line coughing and sneezing. So if you will hit a *6, it will mute you. All right, mentally, you've got to absolutely focus on the presentation and nothing else. And if you can do these things and be prepared personally, you've truly overcome a lot of the problems that people face. As you watch people now in the future, after this presentation today, after this training, as you watch, you're going to see people fidgeting with their clothes or fidgeting with their notebook. They thought they were going to have a podium, and instead they're trying to hold a whole notebook instead of one piece of paper. You're going to see that physically they're challenged, their presentation isn't as good, and you're going to see that mentally this happens too. You have got to be prepared when it comes time to make your presentation. This alone will dial up your presentation significantly. Now, how do you prepare your presentation? Well, this comes by preparation. This comes by knowing your lines ahead of time. The better you know your presentation, the better you'll be with your audience. It allows you to look up. It allows you to listen. And I'm talking about listen with your whole body. This is a really hard concept to understand. But I have a, you know what, I'm not going to say it's, maybe it's a gift, I don't know. I have an ability to feel my audience. And I think it comes from just thousands of presentations. But I have an ability because I'm not feeling or locked into or thinking about my presentation so much that I don't know what's going on in front of me. I mean, some of you, you'll do a presentation, and I understand this. You'll do a presentation, you'll be so afraid or so nervous or so into trying to do a great job that you won't know who was in the house. You won't know who sat where, and typically when I'm through, I really have communicated with everybody in the room. I've looked at them, I've given them eye contact, I've smiled at them. Within my smiles, they know I'm talking to them. That can only come when you're free to communicate and perceive the thoughts of your audience, and that comes when you're comfortable with your lines. And we try to make the lines of the DynaMAXX presentation very, very simple. We try to give you a formula that's not only simple for an audience to follow along, But did you not think for a minute that this wasn't to empower you? This isn't mostly about who's hearing it. It's mostly about empowering you to be able to present it. That's why there's only 3 bullet points on the company. There's only 4 bullet companies on the product. There's only 5 bullet points on the pay plan. There's only 3 bullet points on positioning and time to get started with the complete opportunity. I mean, this is simple because it allows you to take your business on the road. Do it quickly, do it everywhere, do it always. We could create something, we could play a video if we just cared about what people were going to hear. This is about you. So knowing your lines, getting prepared, and understanding your presentation is key. You can't just go out there, even if you're reading this, you got to read it 100 times before you present it in front of people if you want to be free to hear the thoughts of the audience. Super important. Also, make a track with checkpoints and speed traps and stay on track. Your presentation needs to be presented in a certain amount of time. That's critical. And as this training needs to be done in 30 minutes or less, or right around there, your presentation should be a 30-minute presentation. And when I say that, I mean it's going to take you 5 or 6 or 8 minutes to get started, just because people have little things that slow us down, right? Maybe you show that 6-minute corporate video first, and then you do the 4 Ps. Well, the 4 Ps, if it's 30 minutes, that gives you time to do a good closing and still be through at 5 or 10 minutes to the hour. That's your goal. So know that that's your time frame, and know where you need to be in between each of the 5 steps that you're presenting. I take a little more time, for instance, with the product than I do the people. We're talking about 2 people. We're talking about a product line. Obviously, that's not in balance. The comp plan can take forever, and a lot of people like to. I don't. I like to make the comp plan kind of a 5-minute thing, just 7, 8 minutes maybe, where I'm telling them, yeah, there's 2 types of comp plans. We use the best of both, and it's a hybrid comp plan. Well, that comes from hundreds of presentations, and you can practice those 100 at home, but you need to be sitting in front of a clock when you're practicing and see if you can do this. Because if you get out there and you do a great presentation, but you look down at your watch and your presentation took 11 minutes, you got a problem. If your presentation took 2 hours, you got a problem. So the presentation also has to have checkpoints and speed traps. And then you practice. This is, I think, probably what I've been saying the most is you got to run your lines. You got to run your lines to others and run your lines to yourself often. Practice, practice, practice. Okay, how do you prepare your audience? This is really interesting to me, and I think that I get better at this anytime I remind myself about it. And that's not, that's what I'm saying is you can be better at this tomorrow just by reminding yourself to communicate your expectations through your presentation. And it's a really cool point. And some of you have commented to me that you've seen me do it, and you don't know this is what I'm talking about. So let me tell you exactly how this fits into your presentation. I hope some of you are taking notes. This kind of training maybe doesn't relate to everybody. Maybe you don't have an interest in being a good presenter. But I promise you, these points make you better in life in every way. So when I say communicate your expectations, it's like you'll hear me, and I've heard others, all of you that I've listened to. We've got a lot of great presenters in the company. The very first thing out of your mouth should be why you want to share what you're going to share and what you expect your people to take away from this. Otherwise, they have no idea what to listen for. They have no idea what you're trying to talk to them about. So I'll try to start by saying you've shown a lot of respect to the people that brought you here to look at a business opportunity. I'll always talk. You all fear that. You're all afraid to say you're here to look at a business opportunity. Man, there's nothing more powerful than starting a presentation with an expectation. You are here to look at a business opportunity we think is the greatest business opportunity on the planet. Now, you've taken time out of your evening to be here. Wouldn't it be crazy to sit there with a closed mind just because you're here as a favor to a friend and maybe miss an opportunity that is perfectly geared toward you? And is that powerful? I think it is. I think if I'm sitting in a room and someone presents anything to me, whether it's, whether it's personal grooming, or whether it's how to be a better gardener, or whether it's better how it is to use a new skill saw. I don't care what it is. If you start by telling them your expectation, you bring their brain back into focus, and you have them looking at what you're going to be talking about. So make sure they know as you get there, as you start talking to them, as you set it up, exactly what they're there for and what your expectations are. Always get there early. Never come in for a big appearance, because a big appearance is never worth the value that you could have gained by being there a few minutes early and shake a few hands. Put your audience at ease by being there on time. Always arrive a few minutes early, also because you want to check out your room. And then continue to communicate your expectations through your presentation. This is what I mean by check in from time to time. So I told you why you're here, business opportunity. It'd be crazy to miss it. Open your heart and mind. Let me tell you about how I look at an opportunity through the 4 Ps. We've got incredible people. I go through the people, and then I say, if the people are as I shared with you, wouldn't that give you real peace of mind in beginning a business with us and getting into business with us? I hope you see that, and I hope you want to get in business with us. I checked back in. I came back again and said, here's my expectation. I want you to join the company when I'm through with this presentation. Some of you are hiding from the fact that you want people to join you. I mean, tell them, I want you to join this company. Or you think that's a secret? You invited them over. They're looking at Amway in their mind. They're looking at network marketing, multi-level marketing. You think they don't know you want them to join you? Check in with them. So that's what I saw when I tried these products and used them and saw how they changed my life. I know they can change your life too, and that's what I want you to be a part of with me. All expectations as you check in from time to time, and expect success. I mean, I always expect success, and I believe in DynaMAXX we always get success. Sometimes it's right there on the spot, sometimes it's the next day, but when you have something that's as obvious an opportunity for greatness as this company is, as people come and listen, they've already said, I'm looking, right? I mean, to just say, I'll come to your home meeting to launch your business, I mean, aren't they saying there's a possibility that I would be interested? Well, if there's a possibility that they would be interested, is there a company that they could be more interested in than DynaMAXX if we really have everything to offer that we say we do? So expect success. Don't come into your presentation wondering if anybody will join. Come in knowing that eventually everyone in that room is joining DynaMAXX. We might get somebody tonight. Someone might need to go home and talk to their spouse about it. And somebody, it might not hit them until tomorrow, but we're getting everybody. I'm going to give my best presentation. We're going to be nice. We're going to get people out of here before an hour's up, and they're going to want to be a part of this. Prepare the room. Just make sure. This is part of arriving early. Make sure your environment's going to be good. Make sure your room is set up good. I've gotten into rooms that were very uncomfortable, that hurt your presentation. If the whole time you're presenting, let's say the front door of the home, you're doing a home meeting and the front door is behind you. And so the audience is facing the front door. Every time someone comes in late, you got to start over. Not start over with where you were at, but you've got to start over emotionally because it takes you off point. I mean, even me, as rehearsed as I am, as well as I know the presentation, I mean, in my sleep I know it, it still jars you and takes away your timing and your momentum and your peace of heart and mind when there's an interruption. A lot of that can be fixed by setting your room up correctly and by getting rid of distractions. Make sure that the owner of the home turns off their cockeyed phone. I mean, this isn't that hard. Turn off your phone. Well, I may have people calling that are trying to find the place. Yeah, they should have been here. Let's turn off your phone. And then make sure everyone in the room turns off their phone. Make sure the animals are outside. If there are kids, which I strongly suggest, if you're doing one home meeting and this is a professional presentation, find somewhere else for the kids to be. All right, just remove distractions if you want a great presentation. Alcohol is never a good idea. I don't care if it is the lowest percentage wine cooler sold in the United States. It's still alcohol, and it still messes with the environment of your meeting. It's not a good idea. I've gone to meetings where they told me the meeting started at 7, it actually started at 6 for cocktails. Not good. Presets and friendlies. It's always good if you take somebody with you that is learning how to present, learning how to do a home meeting, one person, and then you've got the person who owns the home. If you can set your one person kind of up front in the room, it gives you someone you can always look at for a smile if you feel like you're losing things. So I like to set somebody somewhere where I can check in and get a smile from them and move me forward. Remember these 3 keys to success: preparation, repetition, and discipline. Repetition is a big one because with your 100th presentation, maybe you'll start to feel comfortable. Maybe it takes 200. Maybe it only takes 25 for you. Well, if you wait for home meetings, you know, that could be a year and a half from now. If you're doing 2 a week, you know, that could be a long time from now. So make sure that you practice, 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 because every time you present, you get better at this. Repetition's kind of like a shoe brush when you're shining shoes. It just gets shinier and shinier and a better luster, and your product, which is your presentation, gets better every time. So present to anyone and everyone that will sit still for you. I mean, what are moms for, really? What are moms for? To babysit our kids when we want to go out. Of course, that's true if we're married. And to sit there and let us present. Why? Because they're so friendly. They're going to tell us it was amazing. And we're going to have some peace of heart while we're talking to them. We're still going to be nervous, but we're going to have enough peace in our heart to try some new things and get better at it. Find a girlfriend, a boyfriend, a neighbor. Find a best friend. Find a business partner. Another thing you can do with 3-way calls is let's get together. Instead of doing 3-way calls today, let's get together and practice our presentation. And you take concept and you switch back and forth. Okay, you do people, I'll do product. You do pay plan, I'll do positioning. And then you switch and you go back and you practice. I'll bet there aren't 3 people on this phone call who have done that. There may be 3, but there aren't any more than 3. 3 keys to success: preparation, repetition, and discipline. Discipline's big as to how your presentation will be remembered. Remember the checkpoints and speed traps? These are critical in how your presentation is going to be remembered. That's discipline. I am you'll see me do a 4 Ps presentation after thousands of them. I don't wear a watch, and there's not a clock in the room, and I will still be through at 7 or 8 minutes to the hour. That's just from hundreds of times doing it and saying the same group of words, not always in the same way. Depending on my audience, depending on my mood, they'll come out a little different. But you've got to be disciplined in how long you spend. Right now, because you haven't done a lot of these, you're going to do a presentation, and at the end of it, you're going to come up to me and say, how long did I take? And I could say 30 minutes, and I could say 2 hours. And you'd be surprised at both, but you would accept it. That's how undisciplined it is at the beginning when you're learning to present. By practicing the same groups of words, not necessarily said in the exact same way, not memorization is what I'm saying, but you can become disciplined, and then you stay on course. If somebody tries to interrupt your presentation with a question, you can see now as a presenter that questions aren't part of a presentation. Questions might come at the end of a presentation. I suggest they never come at the end of a presentation when you're sharing a business opportunity, because they can do nothing but clog things up. I never take questions. What I'll say is, we're going to finish up here and take a 10-minute break. If you didn't see it, fine. Excuse yourself. If you did, stick around. We're going to get started. If you do have a question you need answered, meet me right back there in the back corner, and I'll answer it before you leave. I just assume they're going to leave, and then that's kind of the takeaway. They're saying, hey, I'm not leaving. Okay, so stay on course. Be in charge. Be disciplined, because the clock is being watched. I want you to know that even though you're not on the clock, your entire audience is always on the clock. Always. I mean, the best show in New York I ever attended, I watched the clock. I mean, even if I'm loving it, I watch the clock. Robin and I, for date night last night, went and saw the new Hunger Games movie, and I knew when we left that it was 2 hours and 15 minutes long. I enjoyed it. We had a great time. But I'm telling you, I watch the clock. So does everybody else in the room. We're all busy. But mostly, we know there's a time, a clock ticking. And so make sure that you get people out. And I think some of you have seen this, because a lot of comments have been made. If you let people out 10 minutes or 5 minutes early, they'll stick around another hour talking about it. But if you run 5 or 10 minutes over, they're gone when you're finished, because you violated their hour. It's amazing what you can do by just watching the clock. Designing your presentation, here's a quick secret. R&D used to stand for research and development. In our industry, it stands for rob and duplicate. If you hear a line I use and you like it, put it in your presentation. If you hear a line that Mitch Giannocco says, highly unlikely, that you like, I'm kidding, Mitch, I know you're on the call, but if you found a line that Mitch, rob and duplicate, he'd be tickled to hear you say something that he thinks he made up. That'd be awesome. All of us believe in that in this industry. If you find a line you like, use it. Claim it as your own. Don't stop and say, Kevin says. Don't stop and put it in quotation marks. Just use it and go on. All right, no more than 5 parts in your presentation. Design something simple. Identify the highlights often. How many times in a 4-piece presentation do I go back and say, so, people, product, pay plan, and our last one is positioning. Okay, so people and product. Our next one is, I check back in so that by the time I'm through, they know the presentation. Paint a picture of them joining your business and succeeding with you. Smile if possible, because if you're nervous, your audience is nervous too. They don't like feeling nervous. Man, I feel so nervous when the presenter is nervous. That anxiety comes through me. You know, there's something to be created when you need a cheerleader in your audience because you're so bad that they want you to succeed. But that's not something I try for. It's something that I'm happy exists once in a while when the audience is cheering for you to be able to get through it. At my dad's funeral recently, I was singing a song. I mean, I had the whole audience just praying for me that I could get through my song. You love that. But that's not what you want to happen in a presentation of your opportunity. You want to be the beacon of emotion, and you want to be in charge of what people are feeling. Okay, the close. The close is frightening to people. They think, okay, I can do my presentation. What I can't do is the close. Well, that's because it doesn't need to be a close. All right, it needs to be organized. It needs to flow straight in. If you have to fight to get them in, you're going to have to fight to keep them. So why hard close a room in this industry? Why trick somebody into joining? Why bring in somebody who knows how to sell a car, let's say, you know, because that's famous to think about, that they know if you say this, I say this. If they say this, I say this. I mean, all those closing skills go out the window the minute they leave. You're going to have to fight to keep them. So simply extend an invitation. Some will, some won't, so what next? Some will, some won't, so what next? If that's your feeling in your heart, then the close doesn't have to be intimidating. Make it organized. Put some applications and pens out there. Walk through the enrollment options together. Okay, you've heard me say this. We're duplicating the $500 plan, and I walked through it with them. Okay, announce the schedule for their success. This is what I've been doing lately that I'm getting comments on, and that is that in the presentation I'm saying we do a mentor meeting, we make a list, we do a home meeting, we help you get people to your home, we do one home meeting. By sharing the expectations, again, sharing the expectations, you're closing people all the way through your presentation. When they hear that there's a mentor meeting, they already recognize, man, this is bigger than anything I've ever done before. When they realize that there's a home meeting, okay, now you've shared that in your presentation, and then you sign them up with a builder pack, have they not already agreed to a home meeting? Now you don't have to worry about telling them, let's have a home meeting. So I like announcing this so that when someone does join, they're already committed to the entire duplication model. You do this by demonstrating your support, by saying that when you get in, I want to mentor you, or I'll help you get a mentor, and you do all of that the last 5 minutes of your presentation, like I just did. Always evaluate yourself, and occasionally let someone else evaluate you. Please don't run out and say, how did I do? I have a weakness for this with my wife, Robin. No matter how many times I've done a home meeting, when we get back in the car, I turn to her, and I'm just so needy. Honey, how'd I do? What was your favorite part? I mean, it's like the first presentation I ever gave. It's just pitiful that I have to have that reinforcement. Honey, how'd I do? Was I okay? Of course I was okay. I was awesome. I just want my wife to tell me that. Honey, how was it? But I do that. I have to have that feedback. Be careful who you ask to evaluate you, because you may not be ready for a true evaluation from somebody that you respect. So don't hesitate to say, hey, I need some feedback, but I don't want all your feedback. Could you go easy on me? Just tell me what you liked, and then one thing you didn't like. Okay, can we do that? I mean, but I've had people ruined because they go and they ask too often for evaluation. Trust me, you do not want to talk me into a critical evaluation of a speech. I've been a speech coach. I've been a speech critic. You do not want that from me. So you need to tell me, Kevin, can you give me a couple of constructive points? Perfect. Yes, I can do that. Be careful what you ask for. Always evaluate yourself. Occasionally, let somebody else tell you what they thought. Here's the key. Offer to present to everyone. Start right now. Do it over and over. You want to get good at this? Get out there and start presenting. Offer to do a presentation, a phone call, an opportunity call, a home meeting, a weekly meeting. Just offer to present every chance you get. You'll never fail, and every time you'll get better. The ability to present this opportunity well is your personally owned tool to limitless wealth. Whether it's a weekly meeting, a home meeting, webinar, street, I mean, you literally have the opportunity to create your own wealth once you're dialed in on how to present. This is why it's so valued. All right? This opportunity, just become a presenting machine, and you will make a ton of money. You begin to get better starting with your very next presentation. If you'll watch this training 2 or 3 times, it'll start to come to you that you can be a great presenter even though you've never believed that's who you were before this minute. You can do this. Become a presenting machine, and DynaMAXX is going to see you on the stage walking back and forth like you own the place as we give you new recognition and new ranks. I can't wait to be a part of that. Starting January 24th in Dallas. Make sure you're there with us, and we'll see you all there. Thanks for joining us today. Have a great weekend, everybody, and we'll see you at the next DynaMAXX activity. Bye-bye now.